the holding cells, the holding cells in prison. There's all sorts of places that would be classed as a holding cell. When you get off the sweat box from court, and when you arrive at the jail, um, or when you're going to court in the morning, everything's in reverse. You get off, and there'll be holding cells. There'll be a numerous holding cells that you get put into as you're making your way towards the sweat box in order to get to court or whatever. Yeah. Um, it could be a holding cell when you go to the block. If you go to the punishment block for a nicking, you've got in trouble and you've got to go and sit in front of a governor to hear your punishment, or go not guilty or guilty and get your punishment. Say you get a nicking, and scratch that. Say the governor might come in and say, right, I'm going to see everyone from 10 o'clock onwards or whatever. So you'll all go to so everyone that's due for a nicking that day will go to the block during movements, free flow. Time for work. You'll be going to the block, and there'll be one cell. There'll be one cell in there, or a couple of cells in there that are just holding cells. There'll be maybe a toilet in there with nothing else. You'll all be crammed in there, standing up, wishing that it hurries up. People smoking in there and doing whatnot. So that'd be a holding cell. Holding cell showers are used as holding cells if the wing gets locked down, and while not even just the wing gets locked down. If you're getting yourself searched, usually you get locked in the shower. If a few of you are getting yourself searched at once, you'll all be locked in the shower at once. It's a sort of holding cell, isn't it? The thing about holding cells is there's no one's watching while you're in there, while prisoners are in there. Yeah. So if it does go off, it can go off, and there'll be no alarms, no bells, no one can see it. And it can go on for ages. Just as an instance, it went off for me in Feltham. First ever sentence. It Feltham, whenever that was, 2001 or something. Going to court in the morning. I'd had problem on one of the wings. I think it was Heron or something like that. I'd had a minor tear up, been moved. Went to the waiting room in the morning to go to court. Yeah, and back in them days, you used to get your cereal. You used to get breakfast and something to eat before you went court, and you'd be put in your holding cells. Yeah, and in these holding cells, tables and chairs were in the holding cells, so you could sit down and eat cereal. And from what I remember, everything was bolted to the floor. I walked in there. The boy I've got beef with, sod's law, innit? Or the boy I'd had beef with days previously, which you forget about. You move wings, it's done, innit? It's dusted. Oh no, I've got to go to court now. There he is. That's always a stress, isn't it? You could just imagine if you go to a prison where there's 50 of your enemies, but for whatever reason you've been put on. You're lucky. You've been put on a block. You've been put on not down the block. Sorry, you've been put on a wing that's away from everyone. Everyone's all surrounding you, but you're on one wing that's on your own. The only risk you're going to have is if you go to a holding cell. If you're both, imagine you go for a drug test, you're all in a holding cell. They have holding cells. It's going to go off, and you've got 20 geezers in there, that all want to do you. That's when it gets a bit. Anyway, I've gone into the holding cell. I've recognised a couple of them straight away. As soon as the screw went, I've sat down. I don't want it. It's 6:30 in the morning. there's a few boys. I'm thinking, if I just sit down and sleep with dinner, breakfast, then yeah, it's not going to go off. I'd had a fight a few days previously, all in front of a screw, deliberately in front of a screw, you know what I mean, so I could get moved off. Like, this geezer was a big old lump. As soon as I sat down and started eating, I'm thinking, please don't recognise me, none of you boys. Yo, bro, have you got a burn? I've looked up. As soon as I've looked up, just crack. On whatever side, all the chairs and tables are bolted. I've gone back to try and get up or do whatever, get out of the way, and just fell down, innit? Just fell down, fell backwards, and got sort of like my legs trapped in between the table and the chair. Couldn't get up, and just got a good old fashioned. They must have thought I was a football, if you get my drift. Got a good old fashioned A beat down. A screw come in. He knew what was happening. You all right, lad? Oh, yeah, Gov. Can I wait outside? That's what he said. Do you need help? I went, can I wait outside? And then like where the desk was, where people was getting searched and all that, I stood there like busted up, like all the fight gone out of me. It was like loud out. The dangers of a holding cell. I see a geezer down the block, actually, down the block in the holding cells. Punishment, you know, I've gone down there for a nicking. If I was down there, it was probably for hooch or an article I weren't meant to have in my cell or something. It's usually for something along those lines, like usually getting caught doing something in my cell, you know what I mean? So I was down there, a group of people in there. I wasn't like the first to get in there. By the time I got in there was what? No exaggeration, 15, maybe more geezers in this one little cell. Everything's out of there by the toilet and sink, and the toilet and sink is a metal toilet and sink, so you've got a metal toilet and a sink above it. It's not like a toilet there and a sink over there. Toilet and sink all in one, metal. You wouldn't use it. You'll go wee, like you'll go, but other than that, you ain't. Imagine dropping your strides in front of 20 odd geezers, mate, all standing around you. Literally, you can pass me the toilet roll, mate. But people smoking, you can't open the windows. It's all like, you know what I mean. And people do say, "Gov, I'm a non-smoker. Put me in the other cell." Even if you're a smoker, sometimes it's the best to just get out of those cells. Anyway, I didn't do that. I was in there. I'm in the holding cell, 20 man deep. I don't know why I didn't go into the non-smokers. Maybe I wanted to see someone in there. I don't know. Boys were already in there, really. The geezer was in there, sort of like head down in the corner. Didn't notice him at first. The group of boys over there that he's got beef with from the ends, they've been eyeing him up since before I got in there. You know what I mean? Now I'm in there, you can sort of like, no one's paying attention, yeah. And if you're looking, you can see the boys looking over, and old matey with his head down in the corner, think, "Oh mate, please, just get me out of here. Let me get my nicking and get me out of here." But everyone else is sort of like chatting and being loud and smoking and passing things around. No one's paying attention, but out of the blue, mate, they've gone in and said, like, started talking to him about Road. You know, you took the piss on Road. Do you remember when you said this? Do you remember you said that? And like, he's obviously now he's surrounded. He's like, "No, I didn't say that. No, I don't remember saying that." Like, you know, one of them ones. He was obviously on Road. Was a bit more brave, I should say, and they went in on him. Yeah, 3 boys went in on him. Not making no judgments about how many of them there are. I've been involved with. There's more than one of you on one person. Same boxing, mate. Yeah. In jail, like I just said, right? If you're ever a bit nervous about having a tear up, right? You can think, right, as soon as that door opens, I'm going to go and chin the geezer I've got a problem with, and I'll do it 2 foot in front of the screw at dinner time. As soon as I do it, it's going to get broken up. Yeah. I've done that to that geezer in Feltham. That one of my first time I was ever there. And then lo and behold, I walked into the holding cell in the morning to go to court, and they're all there, right? But when you're in a block, and so fights the point was fights in prison last seconds, 9 times out of 10. Even if someone goes into a cell, they might have a bit of a tear up, but then eventually the chairs and the table and the telly starts getting moved around, and it comes on top. And plus, imagine being a screw on the wing, right? You've just walked onto the wing, you've come in from the office, come onto the wing. You haven't just got to work, you've been in the office doing whatever, you've come onto the wing. You don't know there's a fight, but you're looking at every single inmate on the wing, and all their eyes are like that, looking up at the same place. Yeah, it's not hard to work out what's going on. So fights usually last seconds, even arranged ones and all that. But this one was a serious beatdown for, I want to say, a couple of minutes. Maybe that's an exaggeration, but he took us serious. And No one saved him. No one come. He only got found when the screw opened the door to send someone back in from that had just been sitting in front of the governor, or he was come to get someone. Come on, mate, you alright there? Took him out. Who done that? That's one. That's a serious. That was a beatdown, man. That was a serious beatdown. I've seen it. I'll see it go off in what holding cell? What holding cell was it? Coming back from court. Boys from different areas, different postcodes. I say boys. One boy turned up, mate. He's come walking into the thing. He's come walking into the come off the sweatbox into the holding cell. We're already in there. Cut the boys are just like. Yeah. As soon as that door got shut. As soon as the door got shut. What you saying, bruv? You're not so clever now. Bang. That one sort of didn't last as long as that one in the block, man. Jesus, that one in the block. The one in that one that I've just talked about in the holding cell. A couple of geezers on one again, and the thing about that as well, yeah. Let's just say that lasted for a minute, right? That one didn't last too long because there is cameras in the holding cell from there, and whether they're working or not, but you know, screws walking past windows and all that. So that one didn't last. Say it lasted a minute, right? If that geezer doesn't do nothing back after that, not there and then, because don't forget that's the holding cell. Everyone's coming back from court, so you've got geezers from A, B, C, D, E, F, all from different wings, all there, all seeing that happen. If that geezer does nothing in return, like even the next day, I'm not saying he's got to do it there and then, because everyone can get lose against a couple of people. But if he doesn't do nothing there and then, the whole jail has seen him get boiled and do nothing. You know? So whatever reputation he had before that, it's all over now, because I'm going to go back to A, he's going to go back to B, he's going to go back to C. We're all going to talk about what we saw. Jail's boring. Everyone talks about it and has a laugh and a giggle about what they've seen. Whether it's funny or not is another thing, but everyone always sort of like, if you don't laugh, you cry sort of thing. And then eventually he's going to turn up on one of them wings, and everyone's going to be like whispering behind his back, he's the one that done nothing. Because again, it's not the fact that you lost that anyone loses, is it? You can all have a bad day, and well, you know, unless you are physically the hardest man on the planet, you're always going to come up against someone eventually that's got the better of you, innit? I've lost loads of fights straight up. I've won. I think everyone's won more than they've lost, but I've lost. Look at the state in my face, mate. You don't get a face like that through being Floyd Mayweather. You know what I mean? Yeah, but holding cells, they're dodgy places to be, man. Holding cells. If you've got beef in a jail and you know there's more of them than you. Holding cells are a dodgy turnout, because it could all go pear shaped for you quick. If you enjoyed that, hit subscribe and we'll chat later. Adios.